I never thought a simple craving for ice cream could change my life forever. But that's exactly what happened. That night started like any other Friday, a quiet drive home after a long week, just me and him, windows down, music playing softly in the background. His name is Jake. He was my boyfriend of 2 years, my rock, the person I thought I could trust with anything. We were laughing about something silly when I suddenly blurted out, "Can we stop? I need ice cream." Jake just smiled and nodded. "All right, let's find a place." We pulled into a small convenience store on the side of a dark road. The parking lot was empty, except for one other car, a beat-up old sedan parked crookedly near the entrance. I hopped out, excitement bubbling inside me despite the chill in the air. I picked out my favorite flavor, mint chocolate chip, while Jake grabbed a vanilla cone. We stood outside, sharing bites and laughing. It felt perfect. But when we got back in the car, everything changed. I was the one driving. The road was slick with ice, thin, invisible sheets that glistened like glass. I should have been more careful, but I wasn't. I was distracted by the ice cream melting in my lap, the way Jake's hand found mine on the seat, the glow of streetlights blurring past, and then suddenly, the car spun. The world tilted sideways, metal crunched, glass shattered. I heard Jake yell my name, and then silence. When I opened my eyes, the car was still. But Jake was slumped over, breathing hard, his forehead bruised. I was shaking, terrified, frozen. I tried to say something, but my voice was gone. When the police arrived, I was shaking so badly I could barely hold the steering wheel. But Jake? He looked calm. When the officer asked who was driving, Jake took the blame. He said it was his fault, that he distracted me. I wanted to scream, to tell the truth, but he wouldn't let me. He told me, "I'm the one who should take care of you. Don't say a word." And I believed him. That was the night everything shifted. Because after the crash, Jake started to pull away. He stopped calling as much, stopped texting good morning, stopped holding my hand. Then one night, without warning, he left. No explanation, no goodbye. Just disappeared on a dark road, literally and figuratively, leaving me alone to pick up the pieces. Jake and I met in college, back when everything felt fresh and full of possibility. He was the kind of guy who made you believe in fairy tales without ever saying a word. Steady, kind, with a laugh that made you forget the rest of the world. We clicked instantly. Study sessions turned into late-night talks. Coffee dates stretched into weekend getaways. For 2 years, I thought we had it all figured out. But even in the best relationships, cracks start to form where you least expect them. Jake was great. Too great sometimes. He was the guy who always put me first, which at first felt amazing. But slowly, it became suffocating. He'd check my phone just to make sure. He'd insist on knowing my every move under the guise of caring. He made decisions for me, saying it was for my own good. I started to lose myself. I stopped saying no, stopped making plans without him, stopped trusting my own instincts. Still, I loved him, more than I can explain. So when he took the blame for the accident, I didn't question it. I thought, this is the man who's got my back, no matter what. But after the crash, things changed. Not overnight, but gradually. Jake was distant. He didn't return my calls like before. He stopped sending those little texts, thinking of you, drive safe, miss you. When I asked him what was wrong, he'd say, "I'm just tired." But I knew it was more. I felt the walls closing in, but I kept pretending everything was fine. Because love should be enough, right? The truth was I was scared. Scared of losing him, scared of being alone, scared of facing the truth that maybe Jake wasn't the man I thought he was. One night after another argument about nothing, he packed a bag, no explanation, no "I love you," just a cold, quiet goodbye. And he left. I remember sitting in that empty apartment, the walls closing in, ice cream melting forgotten in the fridge. I was broken, and alone. The moment Jake left, a suffocating silence took over my life. No calls, no texts, no signs, just an empty space where his presence used to be. I tried everything to reach him. I called his phone non-stop for days, left messages filled with apologies, explanations, anything to bring him back. But every call went straight to voicemail. His friends avoided me. His family was tight-lipped. Even the places he used to frequent offered no clues. It was like he vanished into thin air. The accident replayed in my mind over and over. Was it really my fault? Had I caused this? Had I caused him to leave? The guilt was crushing. I stopped eating, stopped sleeping, stopped believing in a future. One night I found a note on my car windshield. No signature. Just 3 words, "It's not you." I wanted to believe it, but the silence screamed otherwise. The days blurred together. Work became meaningless. Friends stopped calling. I was isolated in a fog of despair. Then came the whispers. Did you cause the accident? Why did he leave? Was he protecting you or punishing you? I didn't have answers. Only the ache of a broken heart and shattered trust. I realized I needed help. I started therapy. I joined support groups. I reached out to people who had been through similar pain. Slowly, I began to piece myself back together. I learned that sometimes people leave not because of who you are, but because of who they are. That love doesn't always conquer all. And that sometimes, the hardest part of love is letting go. After months swallowed by silence and confusion, I realized that waiting for Jake was only holding me back. I was drowning in memories of what we had, what we lost, and what could never be. But the night I sat alone on my couch, surrounded by the remnants of our life, the broken dishes, the untouched ice cream, the unopened letters, I made a choice. I wouldn't let this be the end of me. Therapy became my lifeline. I learned to face my fears and insecurities, to confront the guilt that had been suffocating me. I started to forgive myself for mistakes I blamed for everything. Slowly, I reached out to old friends. People I hadn't seen in years. Some welcomed me back with open arms, others had moved on. But every conversation, every smile, every hug reminded me I was not alone. One evening, a message popped up on my phone. It was from Sarah, a coworker I barely knew. "Hey, I heard what happened. If you ever want to talk or just grab coffee, I'm here." At first I ignored it, but then I replied, and that reply was the first step in building a new support system. I started small. Coffee dates, therapy sessions, walks in the park, things that helped me breathe again. Then came the hardest step, letting go. Letting go of the idea that Jake would come back. That our life could be fixed with just a conversation. It wasn't easy. Every song on the radio reminded me of him. Every corner of the city whispered his name. But I learned to let the pain exist without letting it define me. Months turned into a year. I found joy in simple things. Writing, cooking, dancing alone in my living room. And when I looked in the mirror, I saw someone different. Someone stronger. Someone ready to face whatever came next. I didn't need Jake to complete me. I was enough. A year after Jake left, my life had changed in ways I never expected. I wasn't the girl who once depended on someone else for happiness. I was a woman who found strength in solitude, joy in simple moments, and hope in the unknown. I moved into a new apartment, a place all my own. Fresh paint, sunlight streaming through big windows, and walls waiting to be filled with new memories. I decorated it with plants, books, and photos that reminded me of who I was and who I wanted to be. Work became more than a job, it became a passion. I threw myself into projects that challenged me and colleagues who inspired me. Most importantly, I found new friendships. Friends who didn't judge my past, but celebrated my growth. Friends who lifted me up when I doubted myself. Love? It wasn't a rushing tide or a sudden spark. It was slow, like a soft sunrise. I met someone, not Jake. Someone who saw me, truly saw me. He wasn't perfect. Neither was I. But that didn't matter. What mattered was that we showed up for each other. We laughed, we cried, we made mistakes, and we grew together. One evening, as I cooked dinner and he set the table, I felt a quiet peace settle in my heart. I was home. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know this. I am whole. I am loved. I am enough. And for the first time in a long time, I believe it. Life has a way of surprising you when you least expect it. After everything, the crash, the silence, the heartbreak, I thought I knew what my story would be. I imagined a future wrapped in pain and regret. But life had other plans. I found strength in the small moments. The sunrise filtering through my new apartment windows. The scent of fresh coffee in the morning. The sound of laughter, sometimes my own, sometimes shared with new friends. I learned that healing isn't linear. There are days when the weight of the past feels too heavy to bear. Days when I miss Jake's familiar voice or the comfort of what once was. But I also learned to be gentle with myself on those days. I surrounded myself with people who chose me, flaws and all. People who held space for my fears and cheered on my victories. People who reminded me that I am not defined by my mistakes, but by how I rise from them. Love returned, not as a roaring flame, but as a steady glow. with someone who accepted me completely, past, present, and future. Someone who taught me that love isn't about possession, but partnership. I still carry scars from that night, the wreck, the silence, the loss, but those scars are part of my story. Not the whole story. Every day is a choice, to live authentically, to embrace uncertainty, to keep moving forward. And as I watch the world unfold before me, I realize I don't need all the answers. I just need to trust the journey. The road ahead is unknown, but it's mine to walk, with courage, with hope, with love. As time passed, I began to understand that the end of one chapter is never truly the end. It's the beginning of something else. I spent countless hours reflecting on what I had learned from the crash, the silence, and the heartbreak. Each memory was a lesson etched into my soul, shaping the woman I was becoming. I realized I had been holding on to guilt for far too long. Guilt over mistakes, over lost love, over the things I couldn't control. But guilt is a heavy burden, and carrying it alone only weighs you down. I started practicing forgiveness, first for myself, then for Jake, and finally, for the past. Through this process, I found clarity. Clarity about who I am beyond any relationship, who I am when no one else is watching. I'm not defined by a car wreck, a breakup, or a silence that once felt like an abyss. I'm defined by my resilience, my courage, my willingness to keep moving forward, even when the path is uncertain. I also discovered the power of vulnerability. Opening up about my story, sharing my pain and my growth, became a way to connect with others. I joined support groups, spoke at local gatherings, and even started a blog where I wrote honestly about love, loss, and healing. Each connection reminded me that I wasn't alone, that so many people carry their own silent battles, their own hidden stories, and that by sharing mine, I was helping others find their voice too. My relationships with others deepened. I learned to build connections based on trust, honesty, and mutual respect. No longer did I seek validation from others, I found it within myself. Love entered my life again, but this time it was different. It wasn't a rescue. It wasn't a fix. It was a partnership. Two flawed people choosing to walk side by side, supporting, challenging, and growing together. I'm still learning every day. About boundaries, about self-care, about the delicate balance between independence and intimacy. And while the memory of that night, the crash over ice cream, still lingers, it no longer controls me. It is a part of my story, but not the whole story. Today I stand taller, speak louder, and live freer. Because I have learned that growth isn't about perfection. It's about progress. So to anyone listening, anyone reading this, your story isn't over. You have the power to write new chapters, to heal, to love, to become who you were always meant to be. There's a saying that time heals all wounds. I won't lie, time helped. But more than that, it was what I did with that time that made the difference. I stopped waiting for things to get better. Instead, I started making them better. I chose to wake up each morning with intention. To find moments of joy, even in the smallest things, a cup of coffee, a phone call with a friend, the sun shining through my window. I learned that hope isn't some distant destination. It's a choice you make every day. To believe in the possibility of happiness, even when you've been hurt. To trust that life still holds beautiful surprises. And they do. I found new passions. I tried new hobbies. I reconnected with parts of myself I'd long forgotten. I made peace with my past. Not by forgetting, but by accepting. By understanding that every experience, good or bad, had shaped me, had made me stronger. Love found me again. Not in a whirlwind or a fairy tale, but in quiet moments of understanding and kindness. We build something real. Something that isn't perfect, but is ours. Looking back, I don't regret the crash, or the silence, or the heartbreak. Because without them, I wouldn't have discovered the strength I hold today. So here I am, standing at the edge of a new beginning, ready to step forward with hope in my heart and love to guide me.